Same problems, different year. You hoped changing calendar would change your life. It didn't. Same frustrations, same obstacles, same patterns. New year didn't bring new results. Why? Because you're seeing everything through same lens, same perspective, same interpretation, same meaning. And perspective creates reality. Change how you see everything. Everything changes. Consider this. Two people lose job, same situation. One sees disaster, career over, life ruined, future destroyed. Other sees opportunity, fresh start, chance to pivot, freedom to explore. Same event, completely different experience. Why? Different perspective, different lens, different interpretation, different meaning assigned. Perspective determines experience, not event itself. Perspective. You've tried changing actions. Didn't work. Tried changing circumstances. Didn't work. Tried changing goals. Still stuck. Why? Because actions and circumstances and goals flow from perspective. Change perspective, everything else changes automatically. Miss perspective, change nothing fundamental. Just rearrange same furniture in same room. New year, old perspective equals old results. New year, new perspective equals new everything. Most people never question their perspective, never examine their lens. They think they see reality objectively. They don't. Nobody does. You see through filters, beliefs, assumptions, past experiences, cultural conditioning, unconscious patterns. These filters determine what you notice, what you ignore, what you interpret as good or bad, what possibilities you see or miss, what actions seem available or impossible. Your perspective right now is limiting you. Massively limiting you. There are opportunities you can't see because perspective filters them out. Solutions that exist but you can't perceive. Paths available but invisible to you. Resources present but unnoticed. Not because they don't exist. Because your perspective literally cannot see them, like colorblind person. Colors exist. They just can't perceive them. Your perspective blindness is costing you everything. Here's proof. Think about problem you have, serious problem. You've thought about this problem extensively, tried solving it, failed. Now imagine perspective of someone you admire, mentor, role model, wise person. How would they see this problem? What would they notice that you don't? What interpretation would they have? What solutions would they see? Different, right? Probably much different. Same problem, different perspective, different everything. Or think about problem from your past that seemed huge at time, devastating, unsolvable, but now, years later, seems small, manageable, even good in retrospect. Problem didn't change. Your perspective on it changed. With changed perspective, problem changed. This is power of perspective. Changes everything without changing anything external. Research on cognitive psychology is absolutely clear. Humans don't experience reality directly. We experience our interpretation of reality. Two-step process. Reality happens. We interpret it through our existing mental models, experience the interpretation, not reality itself. Change interpretation, change experience, completely. This isn't positive thinking. This is how human perception actually works. Carol Dweck's research on mindset. Fixed mindset sees abilities as static. Growth mindset sees abilities as developable. Same person, same abilities, completely different experience of challenges, failures, and possibilities. Why? Different perspective on what abilities are. Viktor Frankl survived concentration camps by finding meaning in suffering. Perspective created completely different experience of same horrific reality. He wrote, "Everything can be taken from man but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." Your attitude, your perspective, your interpretation, this is ultimate freedom, only real freedom. Can't always control circumstances, can always control perspective on circumstances. This control changes everything, because perspective creates experience, creates possibilities, creates actions, creates results. Different perspective literally creates different reality, not metaphorically, actually. You're about to learn complete framework for changing perspective. Not temporarily, fundamentally, permanently. 5 core perspective shifts that change how you see everything, from problems to opportunities, from fixed to growth, from victim to creator, from scarcity to abundance, from fear to possibility. These shifts seem simple, they're profound, they change everything. Here's what you'll learn. First, understanding how perspective actually works, the mechanics, the filters, the process. Second, identifying your current limiting perspectives, the specific lenses distorting your reality. Third, 5 fundamental perspective shifts, each one transformational. Fourth, practices that make new perspectives perm. Anent, not just intellectual understanding, actual perceptual change. Fifth, applying new perspectives to specific life areas, relationships, career, money, health, everything. By the end, you won't just understand perspective differently. You'll see everything differently, literally. Problems you couldn't solve will have obvious solutions. Obstacles that seemed immovable will reveal paths around them. Situations that felt hopeless will show possibilities. People who frustrated you will make sense. Life that felt limited will expand with opportunity. This isn't exaggeration. This is what perspective shift does, changes everything, without changing anything external. Critical question. Are you willing to question your perspective? To admit that how you see things might be wrong, that there might be better way to see? Most people aren't. Ego protects perspective. I see things clearly, I'm realistic. Others are naive. This certainty guarantees stuck. Willingness to question perspective is prerequisite for changing it. Are you willing? Decide now. Because unwillingness makes this entire hour useless. New year doesn't automatically bring new perspective. New perspective brings new year, new life, new results, new everything. This year can be different, not through new actions, through new seeing, through new perspective, through new interpretation, through new lens. Change how you see everything. Everything changes, not eventually, immediately. You have 63 minutes, 1 hour to learn how to change the fundamental lens through which you experience reality. Less time than you'll spend this week seeing things the old way and getting old results. Less time than one evening of frustration with problems that different perspective would dissolve. But enough time to learn frameworks that could transform your entire experience of life. New year, new perspective, new everything. Let's begin. Chapter 1. How Perspective Actually Works. Before changing perspective, understand what perspective is, how it works, why it matters. Most people live entire lives never examining this. Let's examine it completely. Perspective is lens through which you interpret reality, not reality itself. Interpretation of reality, critical distinction. You don't experience world directly. You experience your interpretation of world. Reality happens, then you interpret it almost instantaneously. Then experience interpretation, not reality. This two-step process is invisible to you. Feels like you're experiencing reality directly. You're not. You're experiencing your interpretation. Example, someone cuts you off in traffic. That's reality. Event that happened, your interpretation. That jerk doesn't respect anyone. That's interpretation, not reality. You don't know why they cut you off. Emergency, didn't see you, poor driver, infinite possibilities. You chose one interpretation, experienced that interpretation as reality, got angry at your interpretation, not at reality, just interpretation. Different interpretation. They must not have seen me, easy mistake. Same reality, different interpretation, completely different emotional experience. No anger, just understanding. Reality didn't change. Interpretation changed. Experience changed. This is how perspective works. Always, in every situation, every interaction, every event, reality, interpretation, experience of interpretation. Perspective components. Several elements combine to create your perspective. First, beliefs, deep assumptions about how world works, about yourself, about others, about life. These beliefs act as filters, determine what you notice and what you ignore. People can't be trusted. Belief will make you notice every betrayal, miss every kindness, not because kindnesses don't exist, because belief filters them out. Second component, past experiences. Your history creates patterns. Last 3 relationships ended badly creates expectation that next one will too. This expectation becomes lens. You interpret every small problem as confirmation, every good moment as temporary. Past becomes lens for present, even when present is different. This is why past often predicts future, not because future is predetermined, because past creates perspective that recreates similar outcomes. Third component, cultural conditioning. You absorbed thousands of messages about what's good, bad, possible, impossible, what's success, what's failure, what's normal, what's weird, from parents, school, media, society. These messages became invisible filters. You think they're objective reality, they're cultural perspective. Other cultures have completely different perspectives. Proving no perspective is objectively true. They're all just perspectives. Fourth component, current state, mood, energy, health. These affect perspective moment to moment. Same situation seen differently when you're rested versus exhausted, happy versus sad, healthy versus sick. Current state is temporary lens affecting interpretation. This is why sleep on it works. Different state, different perspective, different interpretation, different decision. Fifth component, focus. What you focus on expands in your experience. Focus on problems, you see more problems. Focus on opportunities, you see more opportunities. Both exist simultaneously. Focus determines which you experience as reality. This is reticular activating system. Brain mechanism that filters reality based on what you've decided is important. Focus creates perspective. Perspective creates experience. These 5 components, beliefs, past, culture, state, focus, combine to create your current perspective. Your lens, Your interpretation system, this system operates automatically. Unconsciously, you're not aware it's happening. You just think you're seeing reality clearly. Everyone thinks this. Everyone is interpreting through their unique lens. Nobody sees objective reality. We all see our perspective on reality. Why perspective matters more than reality? Because experience comes from interpretation, not event. Two people, same event, completely different experiences. Perspective determines experience, not reality. You can't always control reality, can always influence perspective. This makes perspective ultimate leverage point. Change perspective, change everything, even if reality stays same. Perspective creates possibilities. Can't see what perspective filters out. Limited perspective sees limited possibilities. Expanded perspective sees expanded possibilities. Person who believes I'm not creative can't see creative solutions. Filtered out by belief. Change belief. Suddenly creative possibilities visible. Were always there. Perspective change made them visible. Perspective creates actions. You take actions that make sense from your perspective. Perspective of scarcity creates hoarding behavior. Perspective of abundance creates generous behavior. Victim perspective creates passive behavior. Creator perspective creates active behavior. Want different actions. Need different perspective. Perspective is upstream from action. Change it there. Perspective creates results. Actions create results. Perspective creates actions. Therefore, perspective creates results. Different perspective means different actions means different results. This is why trying to change results directly often fails. Results come from actions. Actions come from perspective. Change perspective. Results change automatically. Miss perspective. Keep creating same results regardless of effort. The interpretation gap between event and experience is interpretation. This gap is invisible to most people. They think event causes experience. Directly, it doesn't. Event occurs, you interpret, you experience interpretation. This gap is where all power lives. This gap is where freedom exists. This gap is where change happens. In interpretation, in perspective, most people never know this gap exists. Live in automatic interpretation, never questioned, never examined, never changed. Awareness of interpretation gap is first step to changing perspective, seeing that you're interpreting, not experiencing reality directly, interpreting reality. This awareness creates space. Space to choose different interpretation, different perspective, different experience. Without awareness, no choice, just automatic interpretation. With awareness, choice becomes possible. Perspective flexibility. Mentally healthy people have flexible perspectives, can see situation multiple ways, consider different angles, try on different interpretations. Mentally stuck people have rigid perspectives, one way of seeing, one interpretation, one meaning. This rigidity creates suffering. When reality doesn't match rigid perspective, person experiences conflict, distress, problem. Flexible perspective can adapt, reinterpret, find new meaning, new angle. This flexibility creates resilience, adaptability, peace. Your current perspective is one perspective, one of infinite possible perspectives, not right, not wrong, just one. Limited, partial, Incomplete, there are other perspectives, better perspectives for certain purposes, more useful perspectives, more empowering perspectives, more accurate perspectives, more peaceful perspectives. You can choose them. Once you see that your current perspective is just one perspective, not reality, just interpretation. Understanding how perspective works is foundation. Reality exists. You interpret it. Experience interpretation. Components creating your current perspective are beliefs, past, culture, state, and focus. Perspective creates experience, possibilities, actions, and results. Gap between event and interpretation is where all power lives. Now let's identify your specific limiting perspectives. What's distorting your reality? Next chapter. Chapter 2. Identifying your limiting perspectives. Perspective understood. Now identify yours specifically. What lenses are you looking through? Which one's limiting you? Can't change what you can't see. Let's make your perspective visible. Limiting perspective 1. Victim versus creator. Victim perspective sees self as effect. Things happen to me. I'm at mercy of circumstances, others, luck, economy, past. Victim perspective focuses on what's wrong, who's to blame, why it's unfair. This perspective creates helplessness, passivity, resentment. Creator perspective sees self as cause. I create my experience through my choices, my actions, my responses, my interpretation. Focus on what's controllable, what's possible. What can I do? This perspective creates agency, power, action. Which perspective do you operate from honestly? Listen to your language. I have to. I can't. They made me. I had no choice. This is victim language, victim perspective. I choose to. I can. I decided. I'm creating. This is creator language, creator perspective. Your language reveals your perspective. Listen to it. What does it reveal? Limiting perspective 2. Fixed versus growth mindset. Fixed perspective sees abilities as static, born with them or not. Can't really change. Failure proves lack of ability. Therefore, avoid challenges. Avoid failure, protect ego. This perspective creates stagnation, fear, limited growth. Growth perspective sees abilities as developable through effort, practice, learning. Failure proves attempt. Therefore, embrace challenges. Embrace failure as learning. This perspective creates continuous improvement. Courage, unlimited growth. Which perspective do you hold? Notice your response to challenges. Avoid them, that's fixed. Embrace them, that's growth. Notice your response to failure. Proves you can't, that's fixed. Shows you're learning, that's growth. Notice your view of effort. If you're good, shouldn't need effort, that's fixed. Effort is path to mastery, that's growth. Your automatic responses reveal your perspective. Limiting perspective 3. Scarcity versus abundance. Scarcity perspective sees limited resources. Not enough to go around. Your gain is my loss. Competition, hoarding, protection. This perspective creates anxiety, defensiveness, greed. Abundance perspective sees sufficient resources, enough for everyone. Your success doesn't diminish mine. Collaboration, sharing, generosity. This perspective creates peace, openness, prosperity. Which perspective operates in you? Notice your automatic response when someone succeeds. Threatened, that's scarcity. Inspired, that's abundance. Notice your response to giving depletes you. Scarcity energizes you. Abundance. Notice your response to others' needs. burden, scarcity, opportunity, abundance. Your reactions reveal your operating perspective. Limiting perspective 4. Problem versus opportunity. Problem perspective sees obstacles, difficulties. What's wrong, what's blocking, what's bad. This perspective creates frustration, overwhelm, stuckness. Opportunity perspective sees possibilities, learning, growth, paths. This perspective creates excitement, energy, movement. Same situation, completely different experience based on perspective. Which perspective is your default? When something goes wrong, what's your immediate interpretation? This is terrible. That's problem perspective. What can I learn? That's opportunity perspective. When plans fail, what do you see? Disaster. Problem perspective. Redirection. Opportunity perspective. Your immediate interpretation reveals your default perspective. Limiting perspective 5. Judgment versus curiosity. Judgment perspective sees good, bad, right, wrong, shouldn't, quick to evaluate, condemn, dismiss. This perspective creates separation, conflict, closed-mindedness. Curiosity perspective sees interesting, different, wants to understand. Why, how, what led to this? This perspective creates connection, learning, open-mindedness. Which perspective do you default to? When someone behaves badly, what's your response? They're terrible, judgment. I wonder what's happening for them, curiosity. When you disagree with someone, they're wrong, judgment. Tell me more about your thinking, curiosity. When you make mistake, I'm such an idiot, judgment. What can I learn, curiosity. Your automatic response reveals your perspective. Perspective self-assessment. For each of 5 perspective pairs, where do you fall? Mostly victim or mostly creator? Mostly fixed or mostly growth? Mostly scarcity or mostly abundance? Mostly problem or mostly opportunity? Mostly judgment or mostly curiosity? Be honest. Not what you want to be, what you actually are. Most of time, automatically, your default. You probably have mix, some areas growth, some fixed, some areas abundance, some scarcity. That's normal, everyone does. Point isn't to judge yourself. Point is to see clearly, which limiting perspectives are operating. Limiting perspectives create limited results. Expanded perspectives create expanded results. Seeing limiting perspectives is first step to changing them. How limiting perspectives developed. You weren't born with them. They were formed through experiences, messages, conditioning. Victim perspective often comes from childhood powerlessness. Actual powerlessness as child becomes perceived powerlessness as adult. Fixed mindset often comes from being praised for being smart instead of for effort. Learns that ability is what matters, not effort. Scarcity perspective often comes from actual scarcity, poverty, deprivation. Becomes lens even when circumstances change. Understanding origin helps but isn't necessary for change. Perspectives can change regardless of origin. Point is recognizing that perspectives were learned, not inherent, not permanent, not you. They're patterns. Patterns change. New patterns form. You can learn new perspectives. This is entirely possible. Thousands have done it. You can too. Cost of limiting perspectives. Victim perspective costs you agency, power, action, results. Fixed perspective costs you growth, mastery, achievement, potential. Scarcity perspective costs you peace, Relationships, opportunities, abundance, perspective costs you learning. Innovation, solution, flexibility, judgment, perspective costs you understanding. Connection, open-mindedness, wisdom. These costs are enormous. Everything you want exists on other side of perspective shift. Your specific limiting perspectives are now visible. Victim, fixed, scarcity, problem, judgment, or combinations of these, you see them, you see their costs. Now we shift them to creator, growth, abundance, opportunity, curiosity. These shifts change everything. Next chapter. Chapter 3. The 5 Fundamental Perspective Shifts. Limiting perspectives identified. Now shift them. 5 fundamental perspective shifts, each transformational. Master these, you master perspective. Master perspective, you master experience. Let's learn each shift completely. Perspective shift 1. From victim to creator. This is foundational shift, changes everything. Victim perspective. Things happen to me, I'm at mercy of external forces, I'm effect. Creator perspective. I create my experience through my responses. I'm cause, I'm creator. How to shift? First, catch victim language. I have to, stop, rephrase, I choose to. Even if it doesn't feel like choice, it is. Your choosing may be best option, still choice. I can't, stop, I haven't figured out how yet, changes everything. They made me, stop, I allowed, or I chose to respond by, take ownership. Language shapes perspective. Change language, perspective shifts. Second, focus on circle of control. There's circle of concern, things you care about, and circle of control, things you can actually influence. Victim perspective focuses on circle of concern, all the things you can't control. Creator perspective focuses on circle of control. What can I control? My actions, my responses, my choices, my focus. My meaning-making, that's significant control. Focus there. Shift happens. Third, ask empowering questions. Victim asks, why me? Who's to blame? Why is this happening? These questions create helplessness. Creator asks, what can I learn? How can I respond? What's my next move? What opportunity exists here? These questions create power, action. Questions shape focus. Focus shapes perspective. Ask better questions, get better perspective. Practice this shift daily. Every time something goes wrong, catch victim response. Shift to creator response. What can I control here? What's my next move? This practice rewires perspective. Gradually, permanently. After time, creator becomes default, automatic. This one shift transforms everything. Perspective shift 2. From fixed to growth mindset, fixed perspective. Abilities are set, either have them or don't. Failure proves lack of ability. Growth perspective. Abilities develop through effort. Everyone can grow. Failure proves attempt and provides learning. How to shift? First, add yet to every limitation. I can't do this. Add yet. I can't do this yet. Changes everything. Acknowledges current state while asserting future capability. Simple word, profound shift. Use it constantly. Second, reframe challenges. Fixed perspective sees challenges as threats, evidence you might not be capable. Growth perspective sees challenges as opportunities, chance to grow. When facing challenge, ask, what will I learn from this? Not can I do this? This question shifts perspective from judgment to growth. Third, reframe failure. Fixed perspective sees failure as verdict. I failed, therefore I'm failure. Growth perspective sees failure as data. This approach didn't work. What did I learn? What will I try next? Failure is feedback, not identity. This reframe is crucial. Change how you see failure. Change how much you grow. Fourth, celebrate effort, not just outcome. Fixed perspective celebrates being good. Growth perspective celebrates getting better. Notice your effort. Acknowledge it. Praise it. This reinforces growth perspective, makes it stronger, more automatic. Practice this shift daily. Every challenge see growth opportunity. Every failure extract learning. Every limitation add yet. This practice rewires brain. Growth mindset becomes default. Unlocks potential that fixed mindset locked away. Perspective shift 3. From scarcity to abundance. Scarcity perspective, not enough. Resources are limited, competition. Your gain is my loss. Abundance perspective. Sufficient resources. Universe is generous. Collaboration. Your success doesn't diminish mine. How to shift? First, practice gratitude. Scarcity focuses on lack, what's missing, what you don't have. Abundance focuses on presence, what exists, what you do have. Daily gratitude practice shifts focus from lack to presence, from scarcity to abundance. Write 3 things you're grateful for, daily, minimum. This rewires perspective. Second, give generously. Scarcity perspective hoards. Abundance perspective shares. Force the behavior. Give time, money, attention, resources. Even when feels uncomfortable, this creates evidence of abundance. I have enough to share. This evidence shifts perspective from scarcity to abundance. Third, celebrate others' success. Scarcity perspective feels threatened by others' success. Abundance perspective feels inspired. When someone succeeds, genuinely celebrate. This trains brain that success is abundant, not scarce. Others' success doesn't diminish yours. This perspective shift opens everything. Fourth, adopt both and thinking. Scarcity thinks either or. Either I succeed or you succeed. Abundance thinks both and. Both of us can succeed. This thinking reveals possibilities that either or thinking hides. Practice both and expands perspective dramatically. Practice this shift daily, daily gratitude, regular giving, celebrating others, both and thinking. These practices shift perspective from scarcity to abundance. Abundance perspective attracts abundance. Scarcity perspective attracts scarcity. Shift perspective. Results shift. Perspective shift 4. From problem to opportunity. Problem perspective. This is obstacle, difficulty, bad thing. Opportunity perspective. This is possibility, learning, growth, redirection. How to shift? First, reframe automatically. When something bad happens, immediately ask, what's the opportunity here? Not why is this happening? But what's the opportunity? This question shifts perspective, from problem to opportunity, from victim to creator. Powerful question. Second, look for hidden gifts. Every problem contains gift. Lesson, growth, redirection, connection, something, find it deliberately. This practice trains brain to see opportunities instead of just problems. Both exist. What you focus on expands. Focus on opportunities. They expand. Third, use "this is happening for me, not to me." When difficulty arises, say this out loud. This is happening for me. Not to me, for my growth, my learning, my benefit. This statement shifts perspective from victim to creator, from problem to opportunity. Use it constantly. Fourth, adopt yet to be revealed perspective. Sometimes can't see opportunity immediately. That's fine. Trust that it exists, will be revealed. I don't see the opportunity yet, but I trust it exists, will be revealed in time. This trusting perspective keeps you open, prevents closing down into problem perspective. Practice this shift daily. Every problem, find opportunity. Every difficulty, ask, what's the gift? Every setback, say, this is for me. This practice transforms how you experience life. Problems become stepping stones, not roadblocks. Perspective shift 5, from judgment to curiosity. Judgment perspective. This is good, bad, right, wrong, shouldn't. Quick to evaluate, condemn, dismiss. Curiosity perspective. This is interesting, different, I want to understand. Why, how? How to shift. First, pause before judging. Notice urge to judge, pause, choose curiosity instead. This pause creates space. Space for different perspective, for curiosity, for understanding. Without pause, judgment happens automatically. With pause, choice becomes possible. Second, ask understanding questions. When you disagree or don't understand, ask, help me understand your thinking. What led you to that conclusion? What am I missing? These questions shift from judgment to curiosity, from closed to open, from separation to connection. Third, assume positive intent. Judgment assumes negative. They're being difficult. Curiosity assumes positive. They must have reason that makes sense to them. This assumption shifts entire interaction, from adversarial to collaborative. Practice assuming positive intent, even when seems unlikely. This practice shifts perspective dramatically. Fourth, say that's interesting instead of that's wrong. When hearing something you disagree with, respond with that's interesting instead of that's wrong. This simple change shifts from judgment to curiosity, creates opening for understanding, for learning, for growth. Practice this shift daily. Pause before judging, ask understanding questions, assume positive intent, say interesting, not wrong. These practices shift perspective, from judgment to curiosity, opens world of understanding that judgment closes. 5 fundamental shifts: victim to creator, fixed to growth, scarcity to abundance, problem to opportunity, judgment to curiosity. Master these, master perspective, master life. Now let's make these shifts permanent through practices. Next chapter. Chapter 4. Practices 4 Permanent Perspective Chain. 5 shifts learned. Now make them permanent. Intellectual understanding isn't enough. Need embodied practice. Daily practice. Practices that rewire brain. Change default perspective. Let's learn practices that work. Practice 1. Morning perspective setting. Start day by consciously choosing perspective. Before checking phone, before anything, sit. 2 minutes, decide who you're being today: creator, growth-oriented, abundant, opportunity-seeking, curious. State it out loud. Today I'm creator, I see opportunities, I'm curious. This morning setting programs your reticular activating system, tells brain what to notice, what to filter in, what perspective to maintain. 2 minutes. Enormous impact. Practice 2. Evening perspective review. End day by reviewing perspective. Where did I operate from victim? Where from creator? Where did I see problems? Where did I find opportunities? Where did I judge? Where was I curious? This review creates awareness. Awareness creates choice. Choice creates change. 5 minutes. Journal it. This practice accelerates perspective shift dramatically. Practice 3. Perspective pause. Throughout day, pause. Moment of difficulty. Pause, check perspective. What lens am I looking through? Is this helpful? What different perspective could I try? This micro practice interrupts automatic perspective, creates space for conscious choice. Set hourly alarm if needed. Pause, check perspective, adjust if needed. This practice alone transforms perspective over time. Practice 4. Gratitude practice. Daily gratitude. Minimum 3 things, write them, feel them. This practice shifts default focus from lack to presence, from scarcity to abundance, from problems to gifts. Most powerful perspective practice. Daily minimum, more if possible. This rewires brain, gradually, permanently, toward abundance perspective. Practice 5. Reframing practice. When something bad happens, immediately reframe. What's the opportunity? What's the gift? What can I learn? Do this out loud. This practice trains automatic reframing, eventually becomes default. Problems automatically become opportunities. This is perspective mastery, comes through practice. Deliberate practice. Practice 6. Language audit. Listen to your language daily. What words do you use? Victim language, creator language, fixed language, growth language. Notice it, change it deliberately. Language shapes thought, thought shapes perspective, perspective shapes experience. Change language, change everything, audit daily, adjust consciously. Practice 7. Perspective journaling. Write about challenging situation, first from current perspective, then from opposite perspective, then from neutral observer perspective, then from perspective of someone who solved this easily. Multiple perspectives on same situation. This practice builds perspective flexibility, shows that multiple perspectives always exist. You can choose. Practice this weekly minimum, builds crucial skill. Practice 8. Empowering questions practice. Replace disempowering questions with empowering ones. Why me becomes what's the opportunity. Who's to blame becomes what can I control. Why is this happening becomes what am I learning. Write disempowering questions you habitually ask. Write empowering alternatives. Practice alternatives daily. This practice shifts perspective through changing questions. Questions shape focus. Focus shapes perspective. Practice 9. Others' perspective practice. Choose someone you admire. Daily ask how would person see this situation. Adopt their perspective. Try it on. This practice expands perspective repertoire. Shows that many perspectives exist. You can access them. Try on different perspectives daily. Builds flexibility, wisdom, mastery. Practice 10. Meditation for perspective. Meditation creates space between event and interpretation. In that space, choice lives, choice of perspective. 10 minutes daily minimum, Observe thoughts. Notice interpretations. Don't engage, just observe. This practice weakens automatic perspective, strengthens conscious choice, essential for perspective mastery. Practice 11. Body-based perspective. Perspective isn't just mental, it's physical. Victim perspective has different posture than creator perspective. Scarcity has different breadth than abundance. Practice embodying different perspectives physically. Stand like creator. Breathe like abundant person. Move like growth-oriented person. Physical change supports perspective change. Use body deliberately. Changes perspective powerfully. Practice 12. Environment design for perspective. Surround yourself with perspective reminders, notes, quotes, images, questions. What's the opportunity? I'm creator. Growth mindset. Visual reminders throughout environment. These cue new perspective throughout day, constantly. Environment shapes perspective. Design it deliberately. Practice schedule. Morning, perspective setting. Throughout day, perspective pauses. Language audit, empowering questions. Evening, gratitude, perspective review. Daily, meditation, reframing practice, body-based practice. Weekly, perspective journaling, others' perspective practice. Ongoing, environment design. This schedule creates comprehensive perspective practice, transforms perspective systematically, permanently. Expect resistance. Old perspective is comfortable, familiar, automatic. New perspective requires effort, feels awkward, initially. This is normal, expected, part of process, push through. Continue practicing. New becomes familiar, then automatic, then default. But must push through awkward phase, everyone does. You will too. Track progress. Notice shifts, small shifts. Where you once saw problem, now see opportunity. Where you once felt victim, now feel agency. Where you judged, now curious. These shifts are evidence. Notice them, celebrate them. This reinforcement strengthens new perspective, makes it more automatic. Track it, celebrate it. Perspective practice isn't one time. It's ongoing, like physical fitness, must maintain but gets easier. New perspective becomes default, requires less conscious effort, eventually automatic, but always benefits from practice. Maintenance. Refinement. Commit to ongoing practice. Perspective mastery is lifetime practice, worth every moment. Practices established. Daily practices, weekly practices, ongoing practices. These make perspective shifts permanent. Now apply new perspectives to specific life areas. See how everything changes. Final chapter. Chapter 5. Applying new perspectives to your life. New perspectives learned. Practices established. Now apply to specific life areas. Watch how everything transforms. Same situations, new perspectives, different everything. Let's apply systematically. Applying to relationships. Old perspective, problems in relationship mean incompatibility. They should meet my needs. They should change. New perspective, problems are opportunities for growth, for deeper understanding, for better communication. I can change how I show up, how I respond, how I interpret. Victim to creator in relationships. Old, they make me so angry. New, I'm choosing anger response. What else could I choose? Old, they never listen. New, how can I communicate so I'm heard? This shift creates power, action, instead of blame, resentment. Fixed to growth in relationships. Old, we're just incompatible. New, we're learning to understand each other better. Old, they'll never change. New, people can grow, including both of us. This shift creates possibility, hope, instead of stagnation, resignation. Problem to opportunity in relationships. Every conflict becomes opportunity for deeper understanding, better communication, more intimacy, instead of threat. Instead of evidence, relationship is failing. This perspective transforms relationship experience. Conflicts become connecting, not distancing. Applying to career. Old perspective, job is burden, boss is obstacle, coworkers are competition, I'm stuck. New perspective, job is opportunity, to learn, to grow, to contribute, to build skills, boss is teacher, coworkers are collaborators, I'm creating career through choices. Creator perspective in career. Old, I have to go to work. New, I choose this job because it provides income while I build skills. Old, I can't leave. New, I'm choosing to stay for now. I'm also creating options. This shift creates agency instead of victimhood. Growth perspective in career. Every challenge is growth opportunity. Every mistake is learning. Every criticism is data for improvement instead of threats. Instead of evidence you're not good enough. This perspective accelerates career growth, makes challenges exciting, not terrifying. Opportunity perspective in career. Lost job, opportunity for better fit, passed over for promotion. Opportunity to assess whether this path is right. Difficult project. Opportunity to develop new skills. Every apparent setback becomes setup. This perspective transforms career experience completely. Applying to money. Old perspective, never enough, I'm bad with money. Rich people are greedy, money is scarce. New perspective, abundance available. I'm learning financial management. Wealth is okay. Money is tool. I can create financial security. Scarcity to abundance with money. Track what you do have, not what you lack. Notice money coming in, not just going out. Give generously, even small amounts. This practice shifts perspective from scarcity to abundance. Abundance perspective attracts abundance. Literally, through different choices, different actions. Creator perspective with money. Old, I can't afford it. New, how can I afford it? First statement closes. Second opens. Opens creativity, problem solving, action. Old, economy is bad. New, what opportunities does this economy create? Same economy. Different perspective, different results. Growth perspective with money. I'm not good with money yet. I'm learning financial management. Every financial mistake teaches me. This perspective enables learning instead of resignation. I'm bad with money is life sentence. I'm learning is process. Processes improve. Applying to health. Old perspective, my body is enemy, fighting genetics. Aging is decline, exercise is punishment. New perspective, my body is partner, working with genetics. Aging can include vitality. Exercise is investment. Creator perspective with health. Old, I can't lose weight. New, I haven't found right approach yet. Old, my metabolism is slow. New, what can I do to support my metabolism? This perspective creates action instead of resignation. Growth perspective with health. Every workout makes you stronger. Every healthy meal supports health. Every rest day enables recovery. Process-oriented, not outcome-obsessed. This perspective sustains healthy behaviors, makes them enjoyable, not torture. Opportunity perspective with health. Health issue. Opportunity to learn about body, to develop discipline, to appreciate health. Injury, opportunity to rest, to try new activities, to listen to body. This perspective reduces suffering, increases wisdom. Applying to challenges generally. Any challenge, any difficulty, any problem, new perspectives transform experience. Creator asks, what can I control? Growth asks, what am I learning? Abundance asks, what's the gift? Opportunity asks, where does this lead? Curiosity asks, what's really happening here? These questions shift perspective from hell, plus to powerful, from closed to open, from suffering to learning, from problem to opportunity. Same challenge, completely different experience, based entirely on perspective, on questions asked, on meaning assigned, on interpretation chosen. Applying to past. New perspective changes past, not events. Can't change events, but can change interpretation. Meaning, old interpretation, that failure proved I'm not capable. New interpretation, that failure taught me what I needed to learn for future success. Same event, different meaning, different impact on present. Review past from new perspectives. What did that relationship teach you? What did that failure prepare you for? What strength did that difficulty build? Rewrite the meaning. This isn't denial. Events happened. This is choosing empowering meaning instead of disempowering meaning. This choice is always available, always powerful. Applying to future. Perspective shapes expectations. Expectations shape experience. Old perspective creates fearful expectations. It won't work. I'll fail. It's too hard. These expectations become self-fulfilling. New perspective creates open expectations. I'll learn. I'll grow. I'll figure it out. These expectations enable success. Face future from creator perspective. You're creating future through choices, growth perspective. Future abilities will exceed current abilities, abundance perspective. Sufficient resources available, opportunity perspective. Future holds possibilities you can't see yet, curiosity perspective. Future will reveal interesting things. These perspectives create different future, different actions, different results. Life application is ongoing. Every situation, every challenge, every relationship, every decision apply new perspectives, consciously, initially, eventually automatically. This application transforms life, not through changing circumstances, through changing interpretation, meaning, perspective. This changes everything. You've learned complete framework for changing perspective. 5 chapters. Complete transformation. Let's consolidate. Chapter 1. How perspective actually works. You don't experience reality directly, but rather your interpretation of reality through filters of beliefs, past experiences, cultural conditioning, current state and focus. Perspective creates experience, possibilities, actions, and results. Gap between event and interpretation is where all power and freedom exist. Chapter 2. Identifying your limiting perspectives. 5 fundamental limiting perspectives trap most people. Victim versus creator, fixed versus growth mindset, scarcity versus abundance, problem versus opportunity, judgment versus curiosity. Your language and automatic responses reveal which perspectives currently operate in you. Chapter 3. The 5 fundamental perspective shifts victim to creator through changing language, focusing on control, asking empowering questions. Fixed to growth through adding, yet, reframing challenges and failure, celebrating effort. Scarcity to abundance through gratitude, generous giving, celebrating others. Problem to opportunity through automatic reframing, finding gifts, adopting for me not to me. Judgment to curiosity through pausing, asking understanding questions, assuming positive intent. Chapter 4. Practices 4 permanent perspective change. Morning perspective setting programs your day. Evening review creates awareness. Perspective pauses throughout day interrupt automatic patterns. Gratitude shifts focus from lack to presence. Reframing practice trains automatic opportunity seeing. Language audit changes thought patterns. Perspective journaling builds flexibility. Body-based and environment design support mental shifts. Chapter 5. Applying new perspectives to your life. New perspectives transform relationships from problems to growth opportunities. Transform career from burden to opportunity. Transform money from scarcity to abundance. Transform health from enemy to partner. Transform challenges into learning. Transform past through new meanings. Transform future through new expectations. Here's what happens when you apply this. First week you notice old perspectives operating and consciously shift them. First month shifts become more automatic as practices rewire defaults. First quarter new perspectives feel natural in many situations. First year new perspectives are dominant default with old perspectives occasional. Different life, different results, different experience, not through changing circumstances, through changing perspective on circumstances. Your next action determines everything. Today notice your perspective. What lens are you using? Tomorrow practice morning perspective setting. This week implement daily gratitude and evening review. This month practice all 12 practices. This quarter watch your default perspective shift from limiting to expansive. This year experience completely transformed life. Same circumstances, new perspective, new everything. You have complete framework, understanding of how perspective works, identification of limiting perspectives, 5 fundamental shifts, 12 practices for permanent change, application methods for all life areas, everything needed to change how you see everything, which changes everything. New year doesn't automatically bring new life. New perspective brings new life. This year is different when you see differently, when you interpret differently, when you assign different meaning. Same reality, different perspective, different experience. This is available now, through choice, through practice, through application. Stop waiting for circumstances to change. Start changing perspective on circumstances. Victim to creator, fixed to growth, scarcity to abundance, problem to opportunity, judgment to curiosity. These shifts available now, through conscious choice, through daily practice, through committed application. Your perspective creates your reality, not mystically, literally, through determining what you notice, what you interpret, what you feel, what you do, what results you create. Change perspective, change reality, not someday, today, this moment, this situation. Different perspective available. Choose it. New year, new perspective. New everything, not through hoping, through seeing differently, through interpreting differently, through choosing different meaning, through applying frameworks you now possess. Change how you see everything. Everything changes. Make it happen.